In this case, I have an Xbox One X, or an Xbox One Series 2 Elite controller with an issue with the bumpers. So I've already tested it on the computer, done the recording, probably insert it right here to show that the right bumper, no, the left bumper works kind of, which to push in really, really hard. The right bumper also kind of works, but again, pushed really, really hard. So we're gonna get into trying to fix this, and it's been a while since I've done one of these. Let's go ahead and take that off. So I'm gonna try and figure out how to do this off of memory, how to open this controller, and I'm pretty sure it's the pop out. I think the faceplate comes off, so a little spudger here, come in this little crack. Just to preface this, because I've had some other people comment on one of my previous videos for the Xbox One Series, or Xbox One Series 2 Elite controller. I'm not an expert. This is not really a how-to guide. This is more along the lines of I'm doing this for fun, and I figured since I'm doing this for fun, and I enjoy watching these kind of videos, I would post whatever I'm doing as well. So if you break your controller, it's not on me. Well, if you break it further, because if you're watching this video on how to fix it, it's probably already broken. But this is usually pretty simple. If you are able to get the button to register, but having to press really, really hard, it usually just means that the contacts inside the button itself are going bad. And it's better to just replace them. It's not too difficult to replace them, although on the Xbox controllers, these Elite controllers, Microsoft, not Sony. Microsoft actually used a crap ton of copper. I should have taken those off. They use a lot of copper on their circuit boards, so it sucks away heat pretty well. So I highly recommend having a nice, nice soldering station with a good tip. And I like this one. It's a knife blade one, and I can't remember. It is a T12-KU tip. I use the T12 soldering station, and it works pretty well. I use it for all my repairs now. I was using a TS100 soldering iron, and that also worked really well for a lot of things. I just upgraded to this just because I wanted something that was able to deliver a little more power, just to help out with stuff like HDMI ports on the PS4. So now that I've got that off, I think I'm going to take out all of these screws, the silver screws here, and I think this too. And these should, where the caps go, these unscrew, and they're really tight on some of them. But what you do is you're just going to take the thumbstick cap, put it back on there, and you push down and rotate left, counterclockwise, until it goes. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That one's really too tight. Not this one. I'm gonna get this off and then realize I didn't even need to do these. So if they're too tight, which these ones are, is I've just got some pliers here. Grip it and rotate. And it should start to come. There we go. And hopefully, if you don't have to squeeze too hard, it won't mar up that metal for the thumbsticks, thumb cap things. Once you start them though, you can put the cap back on there and just finish them this way. So I'm just gonna fast forward to this because it's just gonna be me talking, taking out those silver screws as well as these caps. Come on, baby. You know you want to? Is it clipped in there too? I can't remember. It's been so long since I've done one of these. No, this should be everything. There we go. I think there's a ribbon too. Nope, there's contacts. Okay, perfect. So what we're trying to get to, let me bring you down on the circuit board here. A little spudger. Trying to get to is these are the contacts for the actual left bumper and right bumper. these right here. So what I'm going to do is actually going to remove these buttons, replace them, because there's no point. I don't want to take them apart and clean the contacts just because it's more effort than it's worth. You could buy replacement buttons online for like 10 cents a piece. Well worth it. So before I get into that, I'm going to take off, and you get all the way down to the circuit board. So I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, is just take off the circuit board. It's a little bit crusty right there too. That might be, let's see evidence of some dirt, weird looking dirt around, this is where the flux was at, but usually it's not this color. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get this circuit board off. There's two of them. There's this top green one right here, and the underneath one is the blue one. Two screws in the corner, right behind the motors, here and here. Take these off, and there's gonna be much more screws down there. Also, in order to get this board out, I take this left bumper, right bumper, and cover off. And this isn't too bad. This is just held in with some clips. Lift up right there, this one right here, and then it'll come right out. Might be clipped in a little bit on the side. Be gentle with it. You don't want to break it any more than it already is. There we go. And this one should come out to just little hooks that go into a slot. And we're just trying to get them past the slot. Come on. The other one was easy. Why aren't you being easy? What are you hooked on? There we go. Okay, yeah, see, just hooks right there on the edges that are keeping those in place. And then now that that's out, that means that this board can come right off. And a little button stays in place. All right, cool. I think there's a smaller T8 or T6 screw. Yeah, and I'll just do these by hands. All right, again, I'll just fast forward through this, me taking it apart. All right, actually, I'm gonna bring you back here. I'm gonna turn my soldering station on now. Probably gonna set it to about 375, 380, because it sucks away a lot of heat. I'm going to remove the wires for the motors first and then desolder these. So we will just do a little speedy up bit and go through this. Oh, a little tip on this too. Not too bad for just desoldering these wires. Just heat it up, pull, comes right off. Super duper easy. That's fine. Flip these around. Same thing over here. And these are kind of, are they color coded? It says SQS something something. I'm not sure. I'll just look at the video if I need to see the color, the way the colors go. Usually it doesn't really matter because it's really just a winding of wire. That should come right out. Oh, I see. Antennas are underneath here. Underneath there. All right, cool. Lift these up, kind of gentle, because I've bent these before on other things, not a controller or anything. All right, that comes right out. So the reason why I bring it back is I don't actually want to take the circuit board out yet. I kind of want to hold it right here in the skeleton that's holding it, just because it gives a little more stability. So what I'm going to do, and a little tip too, for desoldering these, you don't need to add, people always talk about like, oh, I gotta add some fresh solder. Gotta put some new solder in there, some fresh solder, because the old stuff, old solder, blah, 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 blah. That's not what it is. The solder that's on the circuit board is actually leaded, or lead-free solder. And so what I'm going to use is this, says it on there, 6337. So 63% tin, 37% lead. Has a very low melting point. I think it's like 230, 260 degrees Celsius. Can't quite remember. What they used on these circuit boards is lead-free solder, and so it has a much higher temperature for melting point. So what we're doing is really just creating another alloy. Most of what the solder is on these lead-free ones are, it's just mostly just tin and some other stuff in there. And this is going to take a lot of heat because that's a ground point. So we're just trying to flow some new solder in there, some new leaded solder. Doesn't matter how it looks, even if it's a big old glob, just like how that one is. In fact, I'll bring you down. Look at that big old glob. Doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to flow some solder in there to mix together with this leaded, lead-free stuff. can do it right between that wire too. I'm not too worried about it. It's a good soldering iron. Just heating it up, getting it flowing together. It doesn't matter if there's not a glob either, just a matter of that's some new solder is mixed in there. Some leaded, delicious leaded solder. There you go. Sorry, I was off camera there. All right, now that that's in there, I'm gonna take my desoldering pump, or solder sucker. It's this one. It's starting to wear off, but it's some, I can't even read that myself. S602, I don't know, it's like all aluminum, silicone tip, super duper nice. And I'm gonna bump my heat up. It's probably like 430 degrees C right now. I'm gonna bring it in here and keep it on there. And I want this to get nice and hot because I want to suck all that solder out of there. It looks that looks pretty good. Hold on. Got my can on the side just to clear my solder sucker. We'll just give it a look on that so I can see that the top one's definitely clear, but the bottom one, which is the ground plane, is not too clear. I'm gonna bring it in there again. I'm gonna hold the soldering iron to it, add some more solder, make sure it gets nice and hot, hold it for a few seconds, and then do it again. Well, it still does not look like it's clear. And it could be because my solder sucker is a little bit dirty. Look at that again. Yeah, still not quite there. So same process, I'm gonna keep adding solder and heating it up until it finally releases that pin. If it doesn't, eventually I'll just give up. And what you can do, and I may end up doing this, is just heating the pin while pulling on the button. So I'll go ahead and fast forward, finish up, pull all of these, or desolder all these pins. All right, got the circuit board out. I'm just looking at these pins. They're still not quite cleared, but here's how the tactile switches look. Actually, I'm gonna pause 1 sec and find my buttons because I might be able to do it another way. Because I didn't know how these ones were designed, and I don't think I have replacements like this. But hold on, I'm gonna come right back. All right, thinking about that, I should have actually just taken the circuit board out first to look at this. So the kind of button that I have as a replacement is this. You can see, let me zoom in. You'll see that it has a, come on focus, metal shielding all around it with the button actually sitting on the back side of the metal shielding. Whereas this one, you can see that the metal shielding is actually on the back of the button's pressing up against it. So what I need to do, which was a lot easier actually, I would highly recommend this way instead. I just have a regular button. It's like a 1.5, 2 millimeter distance on that button, which looks like it lines up with this one. Is all we need to do is desolder these front 2 pins, because the front 2 pins are actually the button contacts. These back 2 pins are the ground plane. So I'm just gonna reflow some solder into the back ones, because we don't even need to mess with those. And then the buttons themselves should be okay and ready to come out. All right, I'm just gonna grab something. If you look on the back, hopefully it'll show, you can see those black dots there. What happens is the plastic from the button actually comes through the metal casing, the metal skeleton of this button, and then they hot stake it. That way it kind of forces it to stay in there, gives it a nice good grip on that. So squeeze some of these side snips in there, just to free it, and this will come right out, just like that. Don't need to worry about the staking of the new ones. These will be just fine, because when you actually put them inside the case, the skeleton structure of the Xbox One controller, it has some backing on there too, so it'll still hold it in place without any issues. Just like that. So the old ones, these new ones, even though there's four legs on it, as you can see. Focus. I'm just gonna straighten these out, and then just snip them off, just like that. I'll do that for the other one too. I know you can't see because my fingers are in the way, because I have to use my fingers. Straighten them out and snip them off. If If you get them nice and close to the plastic, it'll work out a little better. If it's a little bit longer, it's not too bad, as long as it's not touching the shielding on the controller. Just straighten these bins out. Come on, there we go. Make it a little straighter, easier to go in the holes. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully I can actually do it. I think it just started raining outside. Yeah, I'm down here in Louisiana now, and it rains very frequently. It just rained yesterday. Yesterday was Friday. All right, so there's one. Today's Saturday. It's kind of how the world works. It's like after Friday comes Saturday. After Saturday comes Sunday. Again, just straighten the legs out on those. Makes it easier to go in. And then whenever you get them in, they'll be kind of a good tight fit. You might not want to make them kind of flush with the metal backing on there if you can. If it's a little bit off, it's not really going to affect anything too badly. That button just flies right out. Let's spread the legs a little bit. That way friction will help hold it in place, because I do want them to be a little bit flush. Somewhat good enough. The way you can do this too is if you just go ahead and solder one pin just like that, and then just kind of eye it up, line it up. That's pretty good right there. And then solder the other one, which is probably the ground one. All right, cool. The other one's already in place. So solder this one too. Get one pin. There it goes. Check the button. The button's pretty good. Get the other pin. Make sure it actually flows, and we're ready to go. Good to go on that. Like I said, it's not too big of a deal. It's not completely butted up against the back of that. Just because once it gets in here, you can see this is where it actually goes, and there's plenty of support material on the back of the skeleton there. Actually hold that button in place and offer it the support that it needs, because once you start hammering that left bumper and right bumper, which you know you are, because that's how you fire, right? Oh, something just fell out of my finger. Oh, it's one of these. I don't know if these are actually for, but oh well. All right, I'm just gonna fast forward to this. It's just really just me putting it back in order. You know, some small screws here, green PCB back in place, solder the wires back on there from the motors, and then we'll hook up the computer and test it and make sure it's working. So I'll probably just skip forward to where it's back together. All right, a little cut back, so the controller is mostly put back together. I haven't put the cover on or the screws around this because we want to connect the computer now. Pretty sure the battery's dead, so it's not gonna actually stay powered on. Nope, there it goes. It's on. So connected to the computer. The right one is not as clicky as the left one. The left one's super clicky. The right one actually sounds more like what the original one did. So that's the original. Here's the right one and the left one. So yeah, left one's significantly louder on that click, but it's okay as long as it works. That's all that matters. So let's cut over to the computer and test it, make sure these bumpers are working properly now. All right, on the computer, so far all I've done is literally move my chair over and open up my game controller tester thing. It's built in the Windows 10. Hopefully you can hear that. I just popped my ankle. It's very loud. Anyways, on screen live testing. Here we go, plugging it in. There's a vibration. Should pop up. There it is. Xbox One properties. Bring this over here so you can see it. So left trigger, left bumper, right bumper. Perfect. Analog still working perfectly fine. D-pad good. A, B, X, Y. I like to press all of them together because I can. But yeah, there we go. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the video right here on the computer. Not even going to flash back over to the Xbox controller, putting it together, because all it is like 5 screws and then clipping together the top cover. So this was pretty easy, it was straightforward of a fix. Again, highlight this is I am not a professional. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm showing you how I did it. It may not be the correct way. I have not opened one of these controllers in like almost a year, so I'm just going off of memory. And I'm surprised I was able to do it off of memory. Replacing it the way I did the button itself and not the actual like back plate of it, I highly recommend it that way. Just a little bit easier. You just have to trim the legs from the button and kind of straighten them out. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But if you ever need to follow a better guide, I highly recommend the iFixit guides. It talks you step by step with highlighted pictures on how to take the controller apart. I haven't checked to see if there is even a guide for replacing the tactile button, but I'm sure once it talks you through getting it apart, you can figure it out from there. Again, you do need a very good soldering iron, a soldering station for this. Those buttons, even though they're just data pins, one side of them is ground, so it does suck away the heat. But I'm rambling. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully the video helps out some of you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave the questions down in the comments below. I'm still a small enough YouTuber that, I don't even want to call myself a YouTuber. I'm still a small enough creator, poster on YouTube that I try and comment back on all the comments that I get, help out as many people as I can. But you'll have a great rest of your night. Take care and goodbye.